Hello. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. So tonight I'm going to be working on finishing up some teacups that I made yesterday. So I've got this shelf here, and some of them are just going to be kind of traditional teacups where it's kind of straighten up the sides a little bit, clean up the bottoms, and then I have some that are a little bit more fun, lots of shape. Hi Maki, good evening, how are you? So I'm going to clean this up as well, take care of the bottom. Tired? Yeah, I was tired yesterday. Today I'm doing all right. Pretty good for sure. Well, it's late for you, so. So I'm just gonna get little bits of clay ready for holding these pots in place. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm still working out my schedule. I have another job where I teach at an art facility, and it's about a half hour away from here, and I teach really early in the morning. And as soon as I can figure out my schedule and get that going, I might start streaming on the weekends as well. I also want to add Tuesday. I'm gonna switch to Tuesday, Thursday. Probably after March or during March sometime, we'll see. But instead of just switching days, I might just figure out a new configuration for my streaming times. I would like to add a weekend. So yeah, when I teach long days, I get to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I can work any longer in the studio after I've done like 6 hours already somewhere else. So. You stay longer on the weekends. So yeah. Well, I'll definitely try to get some weekend times in. Yeah, the flyaway bits. Yeah, I think I did all the trimming after you went to sleep last night, so you have to get your fair share of the trimming in. I also changed the camera angle a bit. Last night I had the wheel camera up a little bit higher, pointing down. I think I like the view from the side a little bit better. Yeah. So these are the wavy teacups that I made for the more wavy pot, and then I've got these that I'm actually going to sculpt to match the other teapot. So after I trim these, I'm going to do a little bit of that same kind of sculpting technique that I did with the other one. Well, I like to start with a shape that has, so just like the teapot, I started with that nice round teapot. So, and then I sculpted it. And in order to get the teacups to look like that teapot, I have to make those nice round teacups, and then I can sculpt them to get the same form essentially, or to get them to match and look similar. Yes, the same genetic code round, exactly. Yeah, if you keep a similar process, then the pieces will look like they're related. I'm just shaping a little foot onto this one here. I think I'm gonna try something with the light real quick. It seems a little bright. Is that better? I think you can see a little bit more of the shadow of the foot. Might just try a lower light setting. Hi, Mink Doll. How are you this evening, or morning, or day? number 1. It's evening and you're good. Nice. I'm doing well. Just happy to start finishing up some of these teacups. I need to get them all dried out so I can get them in the kiln. Got 2 weeks left to dry everything, get them fired and glazed, and then fired again. So just get this centered up. Here we go. I did like the angle that I had from above on the wheel, but I think I need to add an extra camera for that, because there's just something you miss if you don't see it from the side. And it's nice to see down inside of it, but it's also nice to see from above. So I'm working it out still. And also figuring out the settings on everything here. Hi Lisa, how are you this evening? Good to see you. Here for the flying teacups. You came just in time, Gumby. I almost lost another one. Right when that happened, I thought of you. Try to lock that in there a little better. Hello Karen, how are you? Hope you're having a good evening. Just doing a little finishing work and probably a little throwing later. Yesterday I did some double walled pots Nice. And it was real fun. So I think I might try a few more. But I want to do something a little bigger. I just threw these last night, so they're still a little squishy. So if they get distorted, I have to kind of force them back into round. I say force, but it's more like a gentle coaxing. Like, you still want to be round, right, little buddy? Karen, did you get those raku pieces in the gallery yet? It looked like they turned out pretty good. It's hard to tell in the dark. March 3rd, nice. Is it for a specific show or just a co-op exhibition? Oh, you're very welcome. Glad to help. Co-op, nice. I have to refill my work at the co-op gallery that I'm in. They sent an email the other day and said I had 6 mugs left in the gallery. Time to restock. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. I am just me. Alright, we're almost done with this set. One more. too far off round that time, just a little bit. Clean up the rim. Should probably be able to put handles on these towards the end of the stream. Let's see. As long as they're not too, yeah, this one's firm enough for a handle. As long as they're not too squishy. Oh, thanks. It's nice to be appreciated. Still wearing my mask from earlier. Just noticed. You like the way I trim the bottom? I usually bring the tool all the way across. You like your method of making a furrow at the end points and then trimming from the center. Going to try that the next time I trim. Yeah, so I just like to, it helps me set the foot. So I always start with the outer edge just to make sure that it's round to how I have it centered. And then, yeah, the first thing I like to do is kind of make the foot ring. So I know that that's as far out as I'm going to trim it. And it also kind of gives me a point when I'm working back from the center that the tool just kind of bumps into and gives it a little stopping point. And I just think it makes it easier. Of course, I try to do all my side trimming before I do the bottom for the most part, but sometimes I'll make a little divot just for my finger to sit so I can apply some downward pressure while it's still thick. Yeah. That set's good. Came out all right. I didn't really measure anything. I just kind of threw each one and tried to keep the same technique, the same movement. So typically if you just try to make them the same way, they'll come out similar enough for the set. And I don't ever try to be perfect. I kind of like the fact that each one is unique. You want a teacup in the shape of a Klein bottle? Okay, thanks, bye. I'll see what I can do, Gumby. Alright, I'm gonna do these other round ones first, and then I'm probably gonna have to make a chum for the wavy ones, because I don't know how even they are after this texture was put in. What's the most difficult item I've done? That's a good question. Anything that someone else wants me to make that I've never done before always takes a lot more work. So like, it's not that I don't enjoy making things that people order. It's that it's a lot easier to make things you already make for someone when they're ordering it. So really what I'm getting at is the hardest thing to make is something that you're commissioned to do that you're only getting paid a certain amount of money for, and then you have to make prototypes to make it, and that eats up a lot of time, and you don't want to spend a lot of time. So typically when you're doing something like that, you want to try to have as few practice runs as possible, although you need to make more than one typically if you're doing something for a commission. So I made this Ethiopian teapot set. It is actually a completely round bottom, and it comes up like a bottle deck, and then it has two spouts, and it was for pouring coffee, so that it would pour coffee out of two spouts at the same time. And so I basically designed it in my mind before I threw it, and then made a couple of them, and then it has a very specific firing, since they're kind of pit fired and it's a low fire piece. So it has a dark black body all over, and yeah, for the days when you need to really wake up exactly, Maki. Yeah. So you get both your 2 cups of coffee at once. And so working through that order was pretty difficult, trying to make it without making too many of them. But I made the pieces, and the gentleman who ordered it was very happy with it. And but I wouldn't say it's the hardest thing that I've made. That's typically the hardest thing to make, which is just someone else's ideas. The hardest thing that I've made is probably, I made a 75-pound pot out of sections, and so it's just a ginormous, almost 3 feet by, I think it was around 20 inches wide, and it's really not a difficult shape, but it's difficult to get that much clay worked in and even and matching, and I ended up throwing it in about 5 sections of clay, and yeah, so that was pretty difficult, but it's not you wouldn't think that it's a difficult shape. It's just the process is trying. And really the things that I make that I want to make, it's not difficult. It's not like, I don't think of it as, it may be difficult to get to the end result, but it's something I wanted to do, and if I'm enjoying it, then it doesn't really feel like it's a bad thing. It's like I was saying, that commission, someone's paying you and you have this rate of failure, and that's like, the stress that gets added to that makes it difficult to deal with. So typically, if I'm challenging myself, I actually enjoy it. I like pushing my skill set and trying to see if I can do something new. And I guess a lot of it really, the more sculptural work you have, it's like a painter spending 20 hours on a piece. If you're working on a sculpture and it's taking you 10, 20, 25, 30 hours, however long it takes you to make the piece of work. With clay, the longer it takes, the harder it gets, because you're constantly trying to keep it hydrated to a point where you can still work on it. Because if it dries out too much, you're not going to be able to add new clay or take the clay away as easily, or shape it the way you might need to. So you have to keep checking the hydration of the clay, making sure that you're adding moisture to it, make sure that you're not adding too much moisture to it. And so the pieces that require a lot of time spent with them, those typically end up being a bit harder to make. They also require special firing cycles, but again, it ends up becoming a labor of love. You're doing it out of passion, not because you want to get paid. The hardest thing for me is just trying to make art and put a price tag on it, because I just make the things I want to make because I want to make them, and then if someone likes them, then that makes me happy. That's really the dream right there. And yeah, to me, it's not about it being difficult. It's about whether or not it's fun or challenging. Well, I'm glad I can make you smile, Karen. The difficult pots are the monetization pots. Just straight production. It's difficult when you have to make an order of like 400 mugs and they're all the same. That's when it gets difficult, and you're just like, oh my god, how many more of these do I have to make? Like, even though I've been sitting here making these teacups and teapots for the last few weeks, it's not, there's challenging points to it, there's difficulty to it, but it's not making me feel like I don't want to do it. I'm enjoying making all of these pieces and enjoying the results of it. And as long as you can enjoy it, then it doesn't feel like work, because I'm just making it for me. So really the idea is I just make as much of this stuff as I can for myself, and then put it in a gallery and hope someone else likes it eventually. So this is one of the ones that's going to get sculpted a bit. So as I finish them, I'm just going to start kind of doing a bit of the base sculpting. I'm going to get a little cushion so I don't flatten the edge I just cut in it. Nice. So you can see it's just kind of coming along. This is just real quick, not really finished yet. So I really want this to just start to really get lumpy and fun and bulging off in different directions. I'm not worried about keeping it round anymore. The most important part about it being round was that it starts off as a nice shape before the sculpting happens. And I get that trimmed foot. That's all was done in round, but now I can really sculpt it and push everything into whatever shape it starts to become. Not worried about it being a perfectly round cup anymore. hear the music is getting some lyrics in it. I don't know what happened all of a sudden, but I don't want my VOD to get muted, so I'm gonna change it real quick. Oop. Sorry about that. All right. Get my sponge back. Trying to keep this movement going through these pieces. Vickles! Hey! Yeah, we're making the teacups to go with that teapot that I made. So. Thank you for reinforcing the yeah, whole lumpy set. Exactly. We're enforcing the no ghosting rule as usual. How have you been? Yeah. Well, I did. I'm gonna make one alteration to the base, but yeah, the it'll look similar to this one in a second. So I'm going to just kind of line this up a little bit. I wanted the bottom to be nice and round and evenly trimmed so that they still sit flat, even though I'm doing this alteration. So the areas where it still sits, it'll still sit like a nice cup, and it won't be too wobbly or anything. So there we go. Another one down. All of the previous videos you can watch on Twitch if you go to my channel when I'm not streaming. It's called a VOD or VOD, video on demand. And you can watch all of the previous streams, and you can just kind of skip through and find the parts you want to watch. Or watch the whole thing, whatever you want to do. Eventually I might start cutting up the videos and putting something on YouTube, like a condensed version of how I make certain pieces from start to finish. But right now, I don't have time for that, so I'm just doing it all live, and eventually I might have time to cut that kind of video. It's really just about finding the time to do all the editing and then grabbing all the clips myself. Yeah, so Gumby says I can put the videos up 24 hours after they were live, but it's a good idea to make YouTube is more discoverable than Twitch. And Twitch, we sort of sit here in the water. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, but I don't have a lot of content. I'm working on putting more up, so I would like to do like a start to finish, and I've been thinking about it, so it's definitely something on the horizon. And then as far as glazing, Karen, I do want to well, I'm going to glaze these pieces, but I am concerned that the video is going to be very noisy because I use a air compressor to do some of the sprayed glazing stuff. And so what I was thinking about doing was actually recording myself doing that and then cutting like a version of it, like a YouTube video, like an edited version, and then just sharing it live on stream with everyone so that we can see it together. But I don't believe it's gonna make for a good calm pottery making watching video if you're just listening to a air compressor going off constantly. So something to make it a little bit more consumable. And Gumby says a lot of big Twitch streamers are moving to YouTube because of that. Most makers don't blow up unless their YouTube channel blows up too. Yeah, I could see that. I discovered a lot of content from YouTube and then moved to watching people work on Twitch, so I can see that. I kind of want to make. I feel like YouTube is set up for a different type of video, though. I guess you can do live streaming on YouTube as well, but I prefer making like edited videos and kind of more compact style videos. Actually watching this live, I feel like it's a good format doing it like this. So I don't know, I'll figure it out, but it might take a little bit of time. So I had one little area that kind of cracked a bit, so I just patched it with a tiny little bit of clay. It was just one of these seams kind of split open a bit. It wasn't much, but that's exactly what happens with this. That's why I make extras and take my time and try to make sure that I get it all just right. So there we go. Another sculpted teacup down. I do not spray glaze on all my pots, Karen. I do a very select pieces on sprayed glaze. It's a lot of work prepping all the glazes to be sprayed, and I do prefer the result of the sprayed glazes over the dipped and poured, but be careful. It's also a lot of this like trigger action, and so doing like long days of spraying glaze can really hurt your wrist. So it's like one of those repetitive motion injury type things that you want to avoid. So I don't do it a lot, but I really love the look of them. Tap center. Good teacup. Pat's the teacup. Yes, good teacup. Yeah, Pat gave it a little tap and it just moved right into the center. Just like I wanted it to. Happy little teacup went to its home. Alright, there we go. Ready to trim it. It's on there pretty good. Pass the teacup so they don't go flying away. You know, if they want to fly away, that's just how it is. Sometimes you gotta let them go. No one. Teacup to the moon. Maggie says, here we can see the wild, in the wild, a juvenile teacup flying from its nest. Yeah. So the one of the pieces I made last night flew off the wheel. So we got this guy right here. It came up out of the all of this texture that you see on the surface was not sculpted. That's how it flew up out of the trimming holder and then spun around the wheel and like got caught in the edge and got all smushed. So sometimes they just go flying and then they get their own fun sculpture. Rip. Yeah, it survived. It's got a lot of character. That guy has a story to tell. That's right. It's hard to make marks like that on your just like that scrape that's on the side where the whole clay is like sliding to the edge. That's really cool. I like the way it looked. Sometimes it's happy accidents like that that can inspire you to try something new, or you see something odd that happens and you like the look of it and then you try to recreate it and then you end up creating a technique that mimics that and then you can figure out a way to replicate it. It's very similar to what I'm doing essentially, is coming up with a way to distort and change the look of the form itself, but I have a very refined technique to get to those through all those stages. So that instead of it being 100% random, it just gets, mostly still they each have their own characteristics, but it still feels like it's part of the same family. Alright, so this one's ready to sculpt. These don't look as flimsy as the ones from yesterday. Are they drier? Yes. The cups I threw yesterday were definitely a lot, or sorry, the teacups that I trimmed yesterday were a lot drier, or good gracious, they were a lot wetter. So they were really squishy and flimsy, like you said. And these, I can only kind of give them a little squish, but they're not nearly as wet as the other ones. The difference is, what's wrong? You dropping frames? Yeah, I don't know what's happening. I saw that I had a little bit of upload go down, but I'm not missing any frames on my end. I think it's my internet, and or you could just be commenting on me not being able to say what I want. So these are a bit drier. And it's because I spent more time letting these dry out. I covered them up just lightly overnight, and then I uncovered them first thing this morning, and they sat out all day uncovered. Whereas the last set, the ones that I did last night, were under plastic from the night that I made them, because I kept them wet for a week, and so they were able to underneath the plastic, they don't dry out as much, and I didn't give them as much time to dry freely, so they were a lot wetter. So the rims of these are a lot stiffer. They're still a little wet in here, and it's still a tiny bit wet in the bottom, but it's not, doesn't keep it from being able to be trimmed. Alright, so we gotta sculpt this one. Dropping frames in my mind. It's this stuff right here. Hot tea. Whiskey makes the best pots. KT, you would know. getting drop frames too. Had to adjust the bit rate. The program's running to fix it. Upload the bit rate was outputting. Yeah, I'll check it. I haven't. So since I put on the new computer together, I haven't adjusted many of the settings for the stream. So I'll check it and see if I can fix the bit rate. How you doing, KT? Good to see you, brother. Hope all is well. I'm alive if that counts for anything. Hey, that counts for everything. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, you can get yourself one of these there. Not the whiskey, just the mug. No worries, buddy. No worries. I do need a drinking cup. When people make me a drink on stream, I sort of hate it, but people love watching me drink after redeeming points, so it's so weird. Thought about getting a huge Hershey's chocolate syrup bottle and using that. That's Gumby, that's hilarious. Yeah, I've seen a lot of the pottery streamers are using channel points to redeem for hydration and stretching and all sorts of stuff like that. So that's pretty funny. People are strange. You just gotta have some way to interact. Oh my god. You have a channel points where people can redeem you eating dog treats. That's rough, buddy. I don't know, man. It better be a lot of channel points. Please tell me it's not like 500. You can either watch my dog eat a treat or me eat a treat. Oh my gosh. I'd rather feed the dog. Old puppers. Like 10K. Yeah, that's a good, that takes a good long while. I guess at that point, if someone's watched you that long. Everyone chooses the dog though. Yeah, I would too. Old puppers. Hey, we're all weirdos. That's for sure. I embrace it though. It makes me who I am. That's right. Yes, we are. There's this guy that facets gyms on Twitch. He drinks out of a tiny metal teapot. Nice. Alright, KT. See you in a little bit, bud. Faceting gyms. That's pretty interesting. Karen says at the studio where they teach, the founder calls all the students weirdos. All artists are weirdos, Gumby says. I agree. You have to be a special kind of weirdo to want to make art all the time. Normies don't know how to make art, and I find that weirder. Yeah. Well, some people just don't want to keep on creating, you know? It's a spark you have. You have to keep it going. I think growing up and playing music all the time really helped me keep my artistic mojo going. People pay a ton of money for abstract art. Blows my mind. Just spray canvas and run it over. It's not that hard, but they don't understand how to create anything. Yeah, I get it. All right, there's another one. All right, we got one more of those. Thanks, Maki. Little teacup. Pat it to the center. Go. The banana duct tape to the wall pissed me off. Selling for so much, it was a banana. I hear you. All they bought was a certificate that said that they bought it. But that also allowed them to display it as that artist's. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but yeah, there's that. If you, Mikey says, if you put a round cup-shaped cup and a shaped teapot next to each other, it makes a Pokemon, and it's all its evolutions. Exactly. OG Gumby says, I was at an art fair. This girl next to me would tell people, oh, it took me 10 minutes to make that painting. I'd tell people I spent a week or two, and they'd rather buy her panel with squirted paint instead of my pieces. I didn't understand it. Yep. Maki says it depends on if people are looking for aesthetic without thought of process behind or concept, etc. Yeah. Sinistea. Poltergeist. No ghosting, Gumby. Those are my Pokepots. Are they really real Pokemon? That's hilarious. That's good, KT. my Karen says my gallery colleagues would like me to name my pieces like Sunset in Cambridge rather than Bottle. Cuties, yeah, yeah. The naming my pottery has always been kind of a thing that I don't like doing so much. So I always pick these like, I don't know, obscure random words, and I don't really take it seriously because it's just like, this is teacup number 3 of 4. Oh, a random name generator for naming them is a really good idea. Yeah. That's a good idea. KT, you're gonna name them all for me? Thanks, man. I'll let you know, and we'll just have a we'll have a stream, and I'll just have KT name all of my pots for me before they go to the gallery. I do have a bottle of whiskey, KT. You're good, man. Pottery throwdown means name calling. Yeah, it'll be like, and this one is called The Spiral and Descent to Darkness. No. Gumby says, when I had chickens, I wouldn't name them like my friends. When I named them, something terrible would happen to them. So they were just that, chicken. And come here, chicken. Yeah. Well, my daughter has to name all of our chickens, so I don't get a choice in that matter anymore. I had a lot of chickens that I was really attached to, and then eventually I got to the point where after they passed on, I was like, I can't keep getting attached to these chickens. And so then I just had like, oh, that's like, if they look the same, I got like 3 chickens that look the same. They're all just the same, like they were all Snow White. You couldn't tell them apart, you know, so. I couldn't stop eating them. Oh my god. No, I don't eat my birds. I only eat the eggs. They do know their names, so it's good that we named them. Yeah, I've heard you have to get them when they're real young. That's when I like them the most, though. That's when I want to hang out with them, when they're young. Good God, you had 200 chickens? Jeez Louise. That's a lot of birds. Yeah, we got some little birds now. How can there be a legal limit on chickens? I live in Los Angeles. Yeah, that'll do it. You can't even collect rainwater. Wow, that's rough. Oh, Los Angeles. Is there a reason for not being able to collect rainwater? Besides you using less water and them not being able to charge you for it? They want to charge you for everything. Yeah. If you want to live and exist in Los Angeles, it will cost. Oh, man. Oh, so it's a rule made to be broken then. Yeah. Yep, exactly, Maki, right? And then Gumby says, if you had a house with a farm and a well you paid for, they will come and put a meter on it, or else they'll fine you a huge amount. Oh my goodness. Can't have our own solar panels. They have to be under their contracts. Some wind generators, they're illegal here too. Oh my goodness. Yowza. Yeah, that's a mess. I've heard it's. I mean, I've heard it's real expensive to live out there, but that kind of adds to the mix there a lot. Sucks so bad. So expensive to live here. It's not worth it. Hopefully, the state will divide itself, and the farm folk will have to pay as much taxes as the rich folk. Yeah, that'd be nice. I had a bit of a split here, so I'm gonna patch it. Oh, that stinks, Gumby. But I can grow an apple tree and an orange tree at the same time. Yeah. There might be a fee for that. You have to be careful. Alright. That's all healed up. Now I just have to sculpt it without going through it too much. You love plants, you grow a ton of orchids and rare plants, that's the only reason you're still there. Is it the temperate zone that you need for the plants you like to grow? Hey, Mountain Mama, good to see you. Hope you're having a good evening. I'm making some teacups for the teapots. So I'm sculpting up some of these teapots or teacups to match the other teapots. I got distracted by a fidget spinner. Bye, Karen. Have a great evening. Enjoy your dinner. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out for a little while tonight. Appreciate it. See you later. Gumby says, man, I watch you and think, I want to buy all that equipment to make my own cups and plates and maybe use them for a week and then never use them again. Yeah, right? Oh my gosh. It's fun to entertain the idea. Pottery is an expensive art form. That's for sure. It's definitely one of those for when you have more energy to throw than you want to wash plates. Yeah. Sometimes I think it might be easier to just make new dishes than to wash them. Depends on the day, I guess. Double-walled shenanigans. Yeah, so I made some double-walled pots last night. If you haven't seen the VOD from last night, I made them pretty early in the stream, so you can catch it almost right away. And but I want to make more. I really enjoyed it. The pieces I made last night are not quite ready to be trimmed or anything. They're still pretty wet. Apparently the double walls hold in a lot of moisture, so I wasn't able to do any of the trimming or piercings or anything. So I'll work on that another day, but I would like to make some more. I thought right now I'm in the market for dinnerware because my kids break everything. It got me thinking. I get a new plate set like once a year. I think the equipment will pay itself off after 10 years or so. Well, it could. Depends on what kind of plate set you buy, I guess. I think the most accessible cheap wheel is about $500 plus shipping. Small kiln probably be about $600 to $1,000. Clay is fairly cheap, and then it's just your time figuring out how to do everything. All right. This cup just gets trimmed. I had one from last night. The one that got squished in the wheel was for one of the tea sets, so this one just needs to be cleaned up to match that set. Gumby says he doesn't know if he'd be really into doing it full time. Jack of all trades, master of none. Like being able to say, I can make that. I hear you, man. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I do that, you know, I can do glass blowing and welding and woodworking, and I just had to pick an area to focus on so that I could essentially work for myself. But I completely understand wanting to be able to know how to do it. That's kind of been what attracts me to most things, is the idea of figuring out, how can I do that? Yeah, that's why you're on the sewing machine. Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool that you can do that for sure. My wife does all the sewing, so she takes care of that. She made all of our masks and stuff for going around in. And all right, so now I'm just gonna clean these guys up. We'll see if they stayed even. I feel like they might be. If I can get away with not throwing a chum to trim them on, it'd be best. You like the vibe of this one? Nice. I like the wavy ones. They're one of my favorites. Enjoy your food, KT. See you soon, buddy. So just as a yeah, you gotta eat, brother. So this is the teapot that these cups are gonna go with. I'm making 4 cups for each tea set. That's actually traditionally how many you would make. So the concept of the teapot is that whatever the volume is for the teapot, however much water, it should actually hold enough to fill 4 cups. So that's typically the idea that you're going for. So you want it, you obviously wouldn't want it to fill less than the 4 cups that you made, but I typically try to like estimate the volume, and I'd rather it be a little bit more than too little. I'm working on 5. I made 5 teapots, so making 20 teacups. Yeah. Went a little overboard. So it's not that I went overboard, but I was playing around. So when I'm designing stuff, I'll make one, make another one, see what I like about one, what I like about another one. It also gets you, so I haven't made teapots in probably a year or so. So it gave me the ability to kind of practice a bit and work up towards doing some of the ones that were more sculptural, which is what I wanted to do anyway. So I was able to make the ones I wanted to make, and then also get some extra ones and practice out of it at the same time. And typically, if I'm gonna make anything, I make extras just in case something bad happens, especially in the case where I need to have the piece by the end of the 6 weeks. So even if, you know, disaster strikes or something, then I'm gonna have a tea set to submit, even if it's just a more traditional style and not the sculpted ones like I would like to submit. I typically make extra for everything. It's not just this specific scenario. Go to the center, little pot. There we go. Gumby asks what type of clay this is. Is it stoneware? Is that a thing? This is a clay body called Little Loafers. It's made by the High Water Clay Company in North Carolina. And it is a stoneware. However, it's as close to a porcelaneous stoneware as you can get. So it has very little grog. It doesn't feel like grog. It's not porcelain. It works like a stoneware. Porcelain is very dense and it dries differently, and it's a whole different thing in and of itself. But this clay is pure white pretty much when it's fired, which is what I like. This clay will not fire translucent like porcelain will. So it is a stoneware. Stoneware is a thing. Typically people will either use a low fire clay, which is called earthenware, like terracotta, and or stoneware, like the clay I'm using, or or a porcelain. So those are typically the three types of clay that you would use. There's other types of clay, but you don't use the rest of them for making pottery to be functional pottery. There's like refractory clay that you would use for making bricks or foundry equipment, and there's lots of different chemical makeups. Basically, you mix it up like a cake. Essentially, you have a recipe, or you know what ingredients you want, and it can be made for you. You can request specific types of clay made. If you know what you want the characteristics to be, you can call up the companies and have them mix you your own special batches. A lot of people make their own clay themselves, and they just have a clay mixer or a ball mill even. A ball mill, you can grind down your own chemicals into a fine powder and mix it into your clay. You can get clay. You can just harvest it and find it, and but you have to do a lot of testing to figure out what the firing temperature is for that type of clay body. And so a lot of clay that you can just dig is earthenware of some sort. Your friend throws the term stoneware around a lot. Plant nerds. They don't know. They think that's the best for some reason. Well, stoneware, if it's completely vitreous, it won't let water pass through. So it really depends. I guess it depends on what you're going for. If it's a like a draining pot that would allow water to go through it or seep through it, or hold water, or not let water pass through it. I don't know. Anything that's completely vitrified isn't really going to let water pass through it. Really, it's just the quality of the clay and how sturdy it is for the most part, but or really just what the artist who makes it prefers to use. Bye, Maki. Have a great evening, good night, or morning, depending on what time it is for you. Thanks for hanging out in the stream tonight. So in my flower pots, Gumby, if I ever make them, which I don't often, and the reason being is because it would cost a fortune to buy a flower pot that I had to make because it cost me a lot of money to make them. And so just for like the kiln fees and stuff, so I don't make them very often for anyone but myself, or, you know, my wife, and if a friend wants one for some reason. But the pots I make, I typically just put holes in, and I make it have good drainage at the bottom. And I mean, your soil is still going to hold water, but if it has enough holes at the bottom, it should come out pretty quickly. So that depends on how dry the soil is. But if the clay is not vitrified, then it will mold, which I would imagine is not good for the for anything. They need huge holes. One complaint that every plant person gets. If it's designed for plants, it should have an enormous hole. Yeah. So here's where we're at with these two. Floating mugs. Still need handles. They go with this pot here. Yeah, they're fun. To the middle. Voila. Tap centering. It's a skill. Hi, Elizabeth. You just got here. This is the wonky cup to go with the wonky pot. This is the, these are the wavy, I don't know if you can see the teapot right here at the top of the main screen. So these guys go with it. So this is the set I'm working on right now. I did some of the, I already did these to go with the sculpted pot. Oh, thanks so much. Glad you like it. Still got to do handles on a bunch. And then if I get done with that at a reasonable time, I might throw a little bit. Let's see, it's getting there. I think I'll probably be working on the teacups the whole time. We'll see. It took longer. It takes a while for all the sculpting, so that's really ate up a lot of time. Not that it wasn't worth it. Mountain Mama, I'm gonna glaze them in a hopefully a sprayed glaze, so it'll be like the runny textures and the different glazes on the sides of it, but I don't know if I'll get to do that on stream specifically, just because it's going to be really loud and obnoxious with the air compressor. So I'm probably going to just film myself doing it and then make a video to go with it, and then I'll just air the video on stream or put it on YouTube or something so that people can see the process, but it's just going to be really obnoxious. I've been thinking about how to do it, and the air compressor doesn't make anything sound good, so. But they'll have a nice natural variegated surface. Good night, Lisa. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good evening. Yeah, yeah, Gumby. I'm going to use a glazing style. It's going to be sprayed glazes, so I'm going to use an automotive spray gun to do a lot of the glazing. It's going to be layered glazes, and I'll use an ash glaze at the top so it'll run down, and then I'll have different layers of glazes creating an effect across the sides. So it'll be interesting. It'll have a variegation to it. It'll look real nice. I do get my glazes custom mixed by my wife if I don't make them myself. We custom mix them right here in the shop. I have to order them ahead of time. It really depends on the day who's going to make the glazes. It's not Using secret recipes. A lot of my glazes are not secret recipes, but sometimes we do alter them to get the result that we want. So really the idea with glaze is that you start with a base glaze, and the base glaze is, it depends on what you want. Like, do you want a glossy surface, a matte surface, an opaque, so that the clay itself isn't showing, so it's not transparent. And you take those base glazes and then you add different colorants to them to make them different colors. So the colorants would be like cobalt gives you blue, copper gives you in oxidation green, and a reduction firing red. There's all sorts of different colorants and metals that you can put in it. Have you ever done them glazes that puff up? No, I don't even know. I don't know what puffed up glazes are. Like the crackle ones, or the ones that break on their own. There's some glazes that have like a texture to them, and I don't typically use those textured glazes like that. They look like foam. Now I don't use any glazes that look like foam. Most of my work I like it to be touched, and I imagine that if the glaze had bubbles in it, then there would be broken bubbles, which would leave sharp edges, and I don't like having anything sharp. I want my pieces to be able to be held. So yes, and sometimes the recipes are secret from ourselves. Sometimes we make mistakes and then we have a nice looking glaze and then we never get that glaze again. You have one that has a foamy glaze. Hate it, but it was a free pot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would ever use a foamy glaze. Just personally, my personal aesthetic, unless it was for something very specific sculpturally and I needed that texture, I would probably never use it. Yeah, we've accidentally made circus puke glaze before. Yuck! Lots of pinks and greens. It's like when you mix all the cotton candy colors together. Yeah, put a pic in the Discord. That'd be interesting to see, for sure. That is a weird glaze. It's like this foamy, puffy stuff. Yeah, that's kind of weird. It looks like a the texture looks like it's a little under-fired, or like it's a crackle. Like, so there's this I think they call them crater glazes, or geez, what are they called? There's some sort of glaze that has a texture like that on purpose. And if it is that, then yeah, I've seen similar things to it before, but it's not necessarily, it is not something that I like or would like to use. It's the ugliest thing I've seen, but the guy sells them. I bet he does, yeah. So sometimes just stuff that's unique like that, just because people haven't seen it, they'll pick it up, you know? So just because it's not my cup of tea, doesn't mean that it's not for other people, but to each their own. So here's the last one for that. So that's all the teacups trimmed and formed. Now they just need handles. Yeah, I went with a just a flat bottom on these because the teapot itself, the way that it comes down to the bottom is just kind of like a clean kind of form, so I just wanted to mimic that a bit. Ugh. Yeah, those are weird. Those are weird pots. So the clay is vitrified and he's just got that glaze going all over it. But yeah, that's something. If anyone would like to comment on that image, join the Amuse Studios Discord. Yeah, I'll give you a little head start. Let's do that. There you go, right there. The link if you want to see those pictures a little bit better. Oh, so remember I made these double walled pots last night. So this was the one that I threw upside down like this. And then that's the inside. You can still see how wet it is. But this top rim where it was flat on the wheel needs to be trimmed over. Oh, Gumby, you have to go. Zoom meeting. All right, cool. Well, it's good to have you in chat. Thanks for hanging out, man. And see you again next time. I'll talk to you in Discord along the way until the stream next week. So this bowl is hollow all the way through around that inner bowl to the outer bowl. Next week, I know, maybe we can get a maybe we can get another stream in before then. So long without me. I've got to teach a workshop this weekend, and it's my daughter's birthday tomorrow. So we'll see. Alright, I think we're going to make some handles. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. Really appreciate it. So right now I'm working on finishing up some teacups for the teapots that I'm making for the main make of the Twitch Pottery Throwdown. So you can see those details if you type in, I'll just type it in for you. Right there in chat is the throwdown details, and there's a Discord for the event. There's also a website for the event, and you can check that out and see what exactly the Twitch Pottery Throwdown is. But there's weekly challenges, and I just showed the challenge from this week is double-walled pots. So we've got these pots that look like they're extra thick. That's because there's a hollow bubble in between the walls, so they look extra fat. So I made that one. I made this bowl. So there's just an air pocket that runs between these whole things here. So that was this week's challenge. We made miniature pots the first week, did a blindfolded cylinder the second week. The week before we threw enclosed spheres, which is essentially what that bowl I just showed was. But throughout the whole thing we're making a teapot and a set of teacups. So I've been making lots of teapots and teacups this whole time. So we're on our last set of teacups. All the teapots are finished. I just need to get handles on these pieces, and then everything can dry out and I can move towards glazing and finishing everything in the next couple weeks. There's only 2 more weeks of the event left after this week. So let's see, I'm making 4, 8, 12, 13 handles to finish up these teacups. So the handles just start out as coils, so this is a coil of clay. I'm trying to get them all to about the same diameter. And then just trim the edges. And then I'm just trying to measure off the same amount. Alright, so that should be enough. The next thing I want to do is just start to shape these into the shapes that I want the handles to be. So I'm going to kind of turn them into a bit of a carrot shape, with a bit of taper towards the end here, and then just flatten one side. So I get something that looks like this. And then I'll shape those, I'll stretch those into the handles that get attached to the pieces in a minute. So I get all these made. So you can see here some of the sets for the teapots and the cups here. I'm just gonna stand up for a minute, stretch out. You can kind of see the sculpted cups down here. Those go with this teapot. Thank you, Mountain Mama. Appreciate it. You like the handle? Thanks. I had fun making it. I spent some time on stream going back and forth on how I should do the placement, and decided on over the top, and put some waves in it to kind of match the flowiness of the pot itself, to kind of make everything a little more organic. I think you were on stream when I was carving the lid, and so I went back in and just added some more hard lines and fine detail to the lid that goes with it as well. So that was kind of what it looks like finalized up close. Also put a little spiral on the inside. You can also see that the handle kind of dips in and out and gets a little thinner towards some of the points, and it also on the terminations wraps around the form, and I also did a little bit of that on the back here as well. To make it feel a bit more organic. Yeah, that one sold. Gumby, who was in chat earlier, actually bought it. It's got his name on it right there. Gumby. Darn. I can make more. Plenty of time. Alright, so that was phase 2. Rolled them out, cut it, shaped them. Now I need to stretch them. So this is where they get that thumb indentation and the thinness that I want. So you can see I'm still tapering it in every direction. It's tapering this way, it's also tapering this way. It makes it fit in the hand better as it gets smaller as it gets towards your pinky, which is, as you cup your hands, this area gets more narrow right down in here. So I like to have that taper fit in that area a bit better. So I'm really trying to make it fit in the hand. Not that these handles are going to be super long on these tiny little cups, but kind of make everything with the same intention. So that's our first pulled handle. I just covered it up. Don't worry, it's safe. I showed everyone you own it. get it to the end of this competition Gumby, and we'll see if we can get it a little prestige to go along. Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it glazed as well. Hey, thanks for the raid. Welcome, welcome everyone. Hey, thanks for the follow. Picture nay. Chuncini, thank you so much for the raid. Hi, hi. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Hope you're all doing well this evening. I'm just working on putting some handles on some teacups. Yeah, currently pulling handles. I just got done trimming all these teacups here, and I've got some down here a little bit out of the way that you can't see, and getting handles on those. They're all teapots. Oh, thanks so much. Appreciate it. They're a lot of fun. I'll give you a bit of a closer look. You were making a teacup, but you didn't want to pull the handle? Yeah. Not every teacup needs a handle, that's for sure. You're worried it's gonna break? Yeah. So I did I've got this nice flowy guy here. You're crossing your fingers? Well, I'm sure it'll turn out well. So I did this teapot, and then I made these teacups to go with it. And then, so I've got a set of those. I've got this guy here. Ooh, ooh, there we go. So this is a fun one. I'll show you some of the fine detail here. We've got, if you look at the handle, some of the marks and lines. Chow chow teacups. Yep. And so with this teapot, we've got these teacups to go with it. Yeah, very organic. So just having fun. Trying to make some fun stuff. I like doing a lot of sculpture, so just got a few more handles to pull and then I'll start attaching. I've been doing pottery for about 15 years. Picture. Form and functional, yeah. Yeah, I have you're very good. I don't know anything about pottery, but you're very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I just like to have fun. It's a fun hobby, and I was able to take it from being a hobby and making it my career for the most part. So I make pottery all the time, and I teach pottery. I worked at a university for 12 years and worked as the head 3D studio technician at the university here in Maryland where I live. And and I finished up there as an adjunct professor before I started just working on my own full time. You've been doing it for 3 years. Nice, Chasini. Oh, thanks so much, Gumby. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm showing off your pot again. All right. You think I'm good at doing pasta as well? Yeah, quite possibly. I've I've not actually made my own pasta before, but I've seen it done, and there are a lot of very similar techniques. All right, so hopefully you know what the Twitch Pottery Throwdown is, but we've been working on making a tea set for the main make of the Pottery Throwdown. So the main make is a teapot and 4 teacups, and then we have weekly challenges. And if you haven't joined the Discord or checked out the website, I'm gonna throw that in chat right now. Sure, that's right. All right, so you can check out those links if you need to see kind of what's happening with that. All right, and we're about to add some handles. Just doing a couple things real quick. All right. So I'm just going to start with these guys. These go with a more traditional teapot. It's a little bit like this. So you can actually see I have these pots back here. And I made most of the teacups for them last night. So I've got all these teacups here that go with those. So we're just finishing up all this. I'm gonna adjust this and sit back down for a minute. Shrinking, shrinking. All right. So for sticking these guys on, I'm just gonna start by cleaning up the surface. Teacups without handles are so much thicker on the walls. Yeah, a lot of them are to keep the insulation in. Sometimes I make teacups without handles. Yeah, for heat protection. Yeah, sometimes I make teacups without handles. It really just depends on the teapot and whether or not I think it would look aesthetic with the piece. Like I feel like these teacups could get away with not having a handle on them, but that's a decision I'll make in a little while. Haven't quite made up my mind on that yet. So I'm just gonna start by adding a little bit of water here. Work that into the surface. Add a little water at the base where the bottom of the handle will get attached. I'm gonna do the same thing to the handle. Just gonna add a little bit of water right between where that connection's gonna be. Work that together. Make sure it's pressed in. Make sure all of those connection points are meeting really well. No gaps or air pockets. Gonna clean it up with a sponge so there's no sharp edges. Nice and smooth. And then I'm just gonna give it a little stretch, clean up all the fingerprints, and just rock that handle over. Make sure it's lined up. And then I'm just gonna seal right here at the base, pinch off all the extra clay, and then I'm just gonna shape up through the handle a bit to give it that nice teacup handle shape. And then we'll just let that sit. And repeat. So a little bit of moisture right in both the areas where that connection's going to be. Key says, can a handle have other form, like a cooking pot, leave, maybe the organic ones, maybe for the organic ones? Yeah, you can make the handle look like anything you want, really. If you wanted to shape it differently, you just pre-sculpt it or make it have a specific shape. You can make, like, say you wanted it to look like a leaf, you could pre-roll out the clay and shape it into that leaf shape, and then just kind of stretch it and fold it into the form that you wanted it, and then apply it to it. So basically, just like I'm doing here, adding a little bit of water in between and sticking them together. It doesn't matter what the shape is that you're sticking together. You just, you would put those pieces stuck on there and it would be the handle. But I've seen all sorts of handles. You can take clay and like braid it and make braided handles. You can turn them into sculptures. I've seen people make like mermaid handles and all sorts of stuff. So I'm just working that clay in right there. little lift right at the top of the handle. Get that. Thank you so much. Yeah, for these, I call these kind of a traditional cup. So for the traditional ones, I like to just make that real iconic kind of traditional handle. I'll do something a bit different for the wavy ones. And like I said, I still haven't quite decided if I'm doing the handles on the wavy ones yet, but we'll have to see. I'm trying to get them all to match aesthetically, so if I did put a handle on these cups, I'd probably try to make them slightly wavy like this handle here. So that would be interesting. But I don't know how it would feel. So that's a concern, but you really want things that are nice and smooth and round in your hand so that you don't have any sharp edges. You want it to be moving pretty nicely through the fingers so that it doesn't feel awkward while you're holding it. Just give this handle a little lift. Clean it up. This next one for the set. One more of those. There we go. That's the last one for that set. Hey, thank you for the follow, Key. Really appreciate it. So I have this one extra teacup from the set I made yesterday. Needed to make a replacement. I had one go a little haywire on the wheel, so I'm just going to do this one real quick.
Hello. I think I finished the Turbo Bricks logo.
Nice.
Clay is drying out, so I gotta get it sprayed under plastic.
A little more lift on that one. So, more in that range. Alright, so now on to these fun ones. So these are, they have this nice wave pattern in them. So I just want to find a spot where I think it would look good for the handle to come off of. Kind of like this area right here. So I can put it here and then have the handle finish right here and still have a lot of that texture showing on the sides. So I'm just going to make my point of attachment right here at the top of this piece. A little moisture down at the bottom. Get that on there real good. Make sure it's attached real well. Work all that clay in.
The mom said it's not allowing her to join Discord. I do know why.
Alright, I'll look into it. Yay, chow chow teacup. Alright, so with this one, I'm going to let it come back. And I want to shape the top of the handle first. Give it a good roll upwards. And then where I have this handle come down, I'm actually going to just lightly press it into the form. Alright, and then I'm going to bring the handle, I'm going to start compressing that. My mistake, a Sharpay teacup, yeah. Lots of little folds. And I'm just going to bring that tail around, that sculpt a little bit. Have some flowiness. I'm going to keep that pretty tight to the cup so it's not too protruding or obtrusive. And then soften it. And then sculpt it a little bit so it has some movement. that's the handle for that piece. Allow that to come up pretty high so that it matches the teapot. So give it a little lift in the handle there. Thank you so much, Mountain Mama. So just so you can see, this one has that same detail with the handle coming down and wrapping around the pot. So that's why I'm finishing it, and I also wanted to give it that lift, that little extra lift to kind of match this part here. So now you can sort of see those two together. Sometimes the hardest part is deciding which part of the mug you want to frame, or so wherever you put the handle, the two opposite sides are going to show. So if I put the handle here, it's going to highlight the side that you see right now. Nice. And then this would be the other side handle there. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and put that there and highlight those two parts of that cup because I really like the way it looks. You see a match, cool. Well, that's what I was going for. Worked out. Trying to encourage that lift with gravity. So if I have it coming off of the cup at more of an angle now, when I tip it over, it'll be a little bit steeper of an angle, and then I don't have as much shaping to do in the end. Light seal here, just make sure it's lined up, and then I can start to shape that extra bit of clay around the side. I want it to really feel like it's moving and flowing, really highlight the medium as soft and malleable, so even when it's fired off to its nice hard glass-like form that you can still tell that it has that movement and flow in it. Oh, you love the details. Thanks so much. Looks very delicate. Yeah, I try to kind of be very conscious of the decisions that I'm making, and I don't want it to be forced. I want it to look like I've just encouraged the clay to do what I wanted it to do, which is essentially what it is. You're just kind of slightly massaging the clay and giving it a little push in one direction or another to give it a slight movement and flow. So I really want it to be part of the design and the feel of the whole piece in general. So I'm going to give this a little bit more lift in the handle. Yeah, if it's something it doesn't want to happen, it just won't. Exactly. Yep. You just have to be real encouraging. That's the word I like to use all the time, is I'm encouraging the clay to do what I want it to, because it won't always. So there's that little extra lift in that handle to really give it that movement upwards. So you can see how where you put the handle really frames, especially with an asymmetrical design like this. You get that organic flow. You really want to make sure your placement of your handle. So let's look at the other side. Got a little divot here where my finger pushed it. I'm just going to puff that back out. There we go. There's our other highlighted side. Gives us a bit of a pillowy form. Give this one a little bit more depth on some of these marks. Sometimes if it's a little thicker when I put the mark in, it won't go as deep. I've trimmed it since then, but I just want to put a little extra movement in this piece. There we go. So now it just has a little bit more of some voluptuous flowing folds here on the side of the cup. Just clean that up a little bit. And now I'm going to pick where I want the handle. So I really like this movement, this part down here. I think if I take this line down and then if I put the handle here, and we get this side. Tracini says, I'm attempting something for a second time that the first time it just collapsed and snapped like into like 10 pieces. Oh no. With a few adjustments, and hopefully the clay wants to cooperate this time. Yeah, hopefully. Good luck with that. It's always rough when the piece falls apart like that, but that's kind of the nature of clay. Is it's always, you have to kind of accept its temporariness and how fragile and delicate it is, and that's kind of the thing that I'm trying to highlight is like how delicate it is, but at the same time you're working with this fragile fragile medium, and it can just fall apart at any time. Well, I wish you much success with that one. Yeah, you can't really get attached, you're right. You have to just let it kind of flow. What I say is I'm always working towards my next piece. So I'm always moving forward. I'm not trying to get too attached to any one thing that I'm working on. And that kind of keeps me level-headed. Yeah, you can't take it personal for sure. All right, Mountain Mama, thanks so much for hanging out in the stream this evening. Have a great evening, or morning, or afternoon. Be well. Hopefully I'll see you next time. All right, so I'm putting my handle right in here. Oh, thank you so much. Attached. Work it in real well. So I don't do a traditional scoring technique, Chosini. What I do is I use the little bit of fingernail that I have, and I just kind of scratch into the surface with water. And I do the same thing on the handle and the piece that I'm attaching to. And I don't have any failure with that method, as long as everything's joined well. I do a lot of production, so I make orders up to a couple hundred pieces for different companies or businesses or races or whatever it may be. And if I took the time to like do the traditional slipping and scoring, it would take me forever. So I came up with this method of just kind of scratching water into the surface, and I've had almost 100% success rate, no failures. Yeah, I recommend trying it sometime. So I gave that handle, already has its lift in it, and now I just have to pull the form over. What I'm looking to do is when I bring this over is kind of follow this line that I put in the piece here. So I'm going to try to bring that handle up and over. Start to see the mimicking of movement. Yeah, it would be real difficult to keep up. I've come up with a lot of ways to save time and work through my process with it and remove basically any excess. I want to make everything as fluid and easy as possible when I'm making orders, and a lot of that ends up translating to my fun work like this, to go ahead and if I know the method works, then I'm not gonna start slipping or scoring with a brush or a needle tool or anything at this point, because I know I don't need to, so I guess it's that if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of mentality. You see how that's coming along there? So here's this finished piece. Here's the other side. It's got really nice movement on that side too. Face huggers. Yeah, I suppose so. Well, luckily, when you're drinking out of this, it won't attack you. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it's its own piece, but at the same time it fits in with the set. Yeah, for sure. There we go. This mug, on the other hand, I may or may not be okay. That would be kind of interesting to put like a one of those face huggers on a cup, like as a handle. Oh, thank you so much, Sally. Appreciate it. Yeah, that way each piece gets its own, you know, uniqueness to it, so you can still have a favorite, you know, but it all blends together, so when they're all sitting together, it still has a very whole feeling to the whole set, but you get your individual characters and personalities in the pieces. It's like a real family. We're not all the same. We each have our own characteristics, and but we all fit together. You want a face hugger? Where do you sign up? Let me work on it. I might do that on stream next week. Try to make a face hugger pot. Alright, just trying to find that spot for the handle. Set that schedule, I'm tuning in. Alright. Well, we have to make the pieces and then we'll work on the sculpture. So next week on Wednesday, I can start making some of the forms, and then on Thursday I can start working on some of the sculpture. So I just want to add a little bit more depth to a little bit of this form. We're so demanding here. It's no problem. It's no problem. I really like the look of this side right here, these intersecting triangles. So I think I'm going to highlight that, which makes me want to put the handle on one of these two sides. Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's how you spell it. I do have my own kiln. I actually have three large, like fairly large, electric kilns that I use for my production, and then I have a couple of small ones, gas fired for raku and different low fire techniques. Yeah, I have a whole studio here. I actually have. And just in this room right now, I have four potter's wheels. Yeah. I've got all sorts of stuff. I've been doing it for a long time and slowly collecting things over the years. Alright, so I'm going to go right here. So this is, I don't know if you can see, but I'm just running my fingernail through the surface with a little bit of water and just building up a thin layer of slip right on the surface of that handle. I did the same thing on the cup right where I'm going to attach it. You work at your dining room table? Yeah. I started at the dining room table, and I think it took me a long time to get away from it. But I also had a studio I could go work at. You're just hand building for now. Yeah, hand building, you can do a lot of fun stuff. I mean, that's really, if you get good at hand building, the wheel is just another tool, and really all it is just doing a really fast pinch pot, essentially. Pieces are those shell-like on the wall, this material. Those are ceramic. Those are ceramic wall hangings. My wife made those. I can grab one when I finish this handle and bring it over to the camera a little closer. We actually have a crystalline glaze that's fired onto those. Got that handle on. I'm just gonna bring it up and I'm gonna try to go underneath this line that's crossing over this direction. And maybe tear back down a little bit. Give it that arc. that. And then that area there. I'll grab one of those wall sconces. Dry my hand off first so it doesn't slip. Sharpay mugs. So you can see the crystalline. There's like these, they look like floral bursts. Those are actually crystals that grow on the surface of the clay in the glaze, in the firing. So these are made to hold a tea light candle. There's so many beautiful types of glaze. I always have a hard time choosing. Yeah, there are. For sure. My wife and I make all of our own glazes, and we have a hard time keeping a small number of glazes in the shop because we want so many to use. Because, like I want blue glossy and green glossy, transparent glossy, an opaque glossy, matte, this color matte, that color matte. And then you have different firings like raku and the functional. Yeah, we make all of our own glazes. We have just a few base glaze recipes that we use, and then we just alter them slightly to get the different effects that we want. Oh, raku is so much fun, Chesini, for sure. If I get a chance, I'm gonna try to do some raku live here on Twitch in the near future. So I actually have a bunch of. Oh yeah, for sure. I have a bunch of bottles ready to go for a like horsehair and sagger, and so hopefully I'll be doing that sometime. It'll have to be a daytime stream so the sun's out, but it should be a lot of fun. So I think I've decided that I want to leave these kind of plain, just to kind of go with this other teapot. So I don't want to put handles on them. I don't know if I can make them match the viney nature of the handle on the teapot, but not because I can't, but because I don't know. I think it would take too much away from the form. So I just want to kind of leave these as is. And I might just do a little bit more of bit of sculpting, kind of push in here at the rim. Give it more of this kind of fun organic movement. Yeah, I don't think it needs it either. I think it would almost take away. It would be too much to look at. You're already looking at so much, and you want the teapot to be the focal point. And with these having so much texture already, so it just kind of draws it together. But yeah, I like the way it kind of comes together, just like this. Just give it that. Kind of pinch in those edges a little bit. I think that gives it enough of its own character. I did make a double-walled pot. I did. So I made this guy. It's a pretty thick double-walled pot, and then I made a double-walled lid to go with it. So this will kind of drop inside there. I don't know how that was going to be, but the one I really enjoyed making was this one. So, gosh, I have to find a camera. So it's got a bowl in the center, and so I threw it upside down like this. So the interior wall I closed all the way in, and then I closed in the outer wall and made it so it's hollow all the way through. And so I just need to go back. It's still a little wet, so the double-walled pieces hold moisture in. I just threw it last night, but I need to go and trim over this edge and make it more round. But I think it's going to have a nice bowl shape. So yeah, it's basically like that sphere challenge that we did. It's 2 enclosed spheres. But that was a lot of fun to make. Nice, Sally. Alright, one more. I'm just going to give it a little pinch right at the top edge. Yeah, because one wasn't hard enough. So I was playing with it, and I had made the other one in the time frame, and then I wanted to just make something different, and someone in chat suggested that they asked if you could do like the closed in spheres, and I was like, yeah, well, you can, you just do this. And so I just made it. But it was a lot of fun. Well, I finished all of the teacups and the teapots like it was nothing. That's right. Casually. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I just like making pots, and if someone suggests something that sounds like it might be interesting, then I'm going to try to do it. So So I'm gonna call it a night here. I've got all my cups finished, so I'm super excited. Now I can let everything dry and get it ready for glaze. So I've got to get everything dried up and then bisque fire it all, and I'm gonna try to get it glazed and have these things done in 2 weeks. I really appreciate you all coming and hanging out with me tonight. And thank you so much for the raid, Tracini. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be streaming again at the very least, next Wednesday and Thursday. Thank you so much, Key. Really appreciate it. if I can fit another stream in before then, I will. But my daughter's birthday is this weekend, and I've got a workshop that I'm teaching. So we'll see. I don't know if I can get another one in before early next week. Thanks so much, Sally. I really appreciate it. You have a great night as well. Yeah. If you're interested in, oh, thanks so much. Yeah, she's turning 8. She's super excited. Yeah, if you want to see any more of my work, you can check out my website. My website is musestudios.com. Oh, have a good night, Key. Thank you so much. I'm going to see if there's anyone I can give a raid to. Typically, I think Iron Leaf is on right now. But I'm going to check. I'm just going to switch to my splash screen, and then I'm going to go ahead and find someone else to raid. So thank you all so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I'll see you again very soon.